Sarah's hands trembled as she watched her 70-year-old mother lying unresponsive in the hospital bed, machines beeping around them like a mechanical heartbeat counting down precious moments. After 7 brutal years of watching advanced cirrhosis slowly steal her mother away piece by piece, Sarah faced the most agonizing decision of her life. "What do you think we should do?" the doctor asked gently, his eyes filled with the kind of compassion that comes from delivering impossible news. They could keep her mother in the hospital and see what happened, or transfer her to a skilled nursing facility for palliative care. The hepatic encephalopathy had progressed to the point where her mother's brain was shutting down, and everyone in that sterile room knew what that meant. Sarah, barely 35 and already bearing the weight of being her mother's sole caregiver, made the choice that would haunt her dreams. Comfort care. Let her rest after fighting so hard for so long. The nursing facility staff immediately began asking questions that felt like daggers to Sarah's heart. "Which funeral home do you want?" And "You should alert family." Each word felt like another shovel of dirt being thrown on her mother's grave while she was still breathing. Sarah's world began collapsing inward, her grief so overwhelming she could barely function. Her broken foot, requiring a knee scooter and keeping her non-weight-bearing, made visits physically agonizing. But her devoted husband became her lifeline, helping transport her to spend what they all believed were their final moments together. Then came the miracle that felt like cruel cosmic joke. After a day and a half of Sarah drowning in funeral arrangements and family notifications, a nurse's casual words shattered her reality. "Oh yes, your mother is awake and talking. Do you want to speak to her?" Sarah's sobs of joy echoed through the phone as she heard her mother's voice, a voice she'd been certain was lost forever. Racing to the facility on her scooter, heart pounding with desperate hope, she found her mother confused and exhausted but gloriously, impossibly alive. But palliative care meant all medications had been stopped. Only lorazepam and morphine remained, turning her once sharp mother into a shadow of herself. When Sarah and her husband caught the flu and couldn't visit for days, her mother's midnight phone calls became increasingly frantic. "Where were you? I've been waiting." What followed was a descent into a nightmare Sarah couldn't have imagined. Her mother, the woman who had raised her with love and strength, became someone unrecognizable. Paranoid, hostile, packing bags haphazardly, demanding to go visit home for Christmas as if this were some extended vacation rather than end-of-life care. The cruelest blow came when Sarah gently explained why she was there, that she'd been unresponsive, that this was hospice care, that her body was failing. Her mother, who had always feared death with trembling intensity, simply shrugged. The expressive eyes that had sparkled with life for decades now stared back with vacant confusion. Nurses kept insisting she was improving, but Sarah watched her mother struggle with basic functions. Unable to use her phone, confused by simple clothing, incontinent and consumed by agitation that made every interaction a battlefield. Christmas became a war zone of packed bags blocking doorways and her mother literally shooing them away when they couldn't promise immediate escape. On Christmas Day, the anniversary of Sarah's father's death in 2011, her mother didn't even acknowledge their presence. They tucked her in with a beautiful new blanket that would later be thrown across the room in rage, whispered "Merry Christmas" to silence, and left with hearts breaking. The nightly phone calls became Sarah's torture. Every evening around 8 p.m., her mother would call from the facility phone, having forgotten she owned a cell phone, demanding to come home immediately. Each conversation spiraled into anger, accusations, and words designed to wound. "You've been trying for weeks and nothing. Just leave me here to die. I'll see you when I see you, like your birthday." Sarah found herself trapped in what she called her fucking Scylla and Charybdis, a mythological nightmare with no good choices. Bring her mother home and Sarah would need to walk on her broken foot prematurely, likely causing permanent damage and requiring surgery she'd been postponing. Keep her mother in care and endure daily verbal abuse from the woman she'd sacrificed everything to protect. The final conversation ended with her mother's bitter declaration, "I'm going to go lock myself in my room," followed by the devastating silence of a disconnected call. Sarah immediately called the facility, begging them to check on her mother, to provide comfort, to prevent her from barricading herself in despair. For weeks, Sarah had been fighting for simple blood work to assess her mother's condition off medications. a basic test that seemed impossible to obtain during the holidays. Her grammar scattered, thoughts fragmented by grief and exhaustion, Sarah found herself questioning everything. Was she abandoning her mother? Was this mercy or cruelty? How do you love someone who has become someone else entirely, trapped in a body that's healing while a mind dissolves into paranoia and rage? What do you think? Was Sarah right to choose palliative care, or should she bring her mother home despite the impossible circumstances? How would you handle watching someone you love become unrecognizable? Share your thoughts on this heartbreaking situation below.